Alright, basically we're going to start with what I done wrong from the get-go. I thought what was coming in was one of the 2-year-old 8 points I've been passing on all season. I zoom in, he steps out, feeding on acorns, boom. I see it's him, the buck I've been after. He's a mainframe 12 at the time, and still pretty high up there, but at the time, by far my biggest buck. He's coming in on the trail that I made that goes to my stand, so I start to panic because it's basically straight and I don't know what I'm going to do. Homemade camera arm, nothing special, just junk that I put together at the time. Cheap little actual tape camera. I thought I put it where he was going to be, and then I'm scatterbrained because he's just coming straight to me, and I used my elbow to kind of move it out of the way, thinking he probably still in the frame, you know. After a certain point, I didn't think about the camera anymore, and that's really where I went wrong with filming this hunt. I switched up, you know, I'm moving things that I shouldn't be moving, and I draw back, shoot. I'm instantly like, I guarantee that wasn't on video. Like, that's the thought that went through my head. Screwed myself, really. It's terrible, because, like, shot him, he literally, it went through his neck, came back out because he was at a harsh angle, and he was like getting a scratch, and it shot him through the jugular, went back through his leg, snapped the leg, he drops, gets up, flipping around the leg as he's running. It's kind of sprinkling, so I lose blood whenever I get down, but he only went about 70 yards. But yeah, he was a monster to me at the time, you know. He ended up being only a 3-year-old deer. I think we got him at 163 if I remember right. But I mean, just a heck of a cool deer. Such a bummer, and that's the number one thing that I learned from that was get it on film. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do have to get it on film as smoothly as you can. Obviously, crappy video doesn't look good. It doesn't translate good. There's so much amazing video out there with all these people that video and these great camera arms they have. They have so many, and I had to build my own. I didn't even know they had camera arms at the time. So I thought it was really cool to see, you know, this deer and to kill it and all that, but to not get it on video still to this day irritates me. And this was back in 2011, so a decade later, and I'm still irritated with this shot. Other than that, awesome hunt. That was so cool. I got in there, I think it was like 4:30 or something like that, but it had been raining all day, and I just forced myself to go because every time I go to this property, I see deer in the rain. So I made it happen, got out there, and sure enough, the buck I was after for a month and a half shows up, boom. So this next hunt, I pop up over this hill, pretty much decided I was going to walk, and immediately see this doe come out of this bottom and a buck right behind her. Looks solid to me. I didn't know the buck at the time, but he looked big, and I was cool with that. I was like, that's the buck I want. So I pull up, get on camera, shoot him. He goes 15 yards, starts wobbling, ends up going down. Right after that, another buck comes in, ends up fighting him. I don't even remember if I have that on video or not. Fought him a little bit while he was already dead. And then another buck comes in while I'm walking up to him and lets me get within 20 yards of him. But yeah, that was a solid buck. Had a broke-off brow tine. I had history with that deer. Looked for his sheds the year before, never did find him. He's a buck I actually call Combine. Really cool deer. I swear 100% this was the deer a month before. Back in October, I watched him slinging corn stalks like 15, 20 feet, like just ripping them apart. It was awesome. But he was too far for a shot. Bow range is just, you're limited. So that was another cool hunt. What I would do different on that hunt, I wish I had someone filming with me. I wish I had someone film me walking and stalking and looking for scrapes and sign and then walking into that scenario, you know. Other than that, it was pretty solid. It wasn't too bad. It was old school, cheap, crappy cameras. So this deer I passed him the year before as a 2-year-old. As a 3-year-old, I was watching him all summer. He was the only buck I was actually after at the time until I had some bigger bucks show up. But we're sitting in this spot right outside the bedding. I look up and he's 50 yards. He had just came out of the bedding and cracked over the hill where I could see him. big tall G2s. I knew which one he was. Pull up, shoot. I thought I was on him the whole time he was running, but I was not. Got him. He only went down after 40 or 50 yards of running. Great buck, 138 maybe. He had super short beams, not real wide, just super tall. Solid 8-point. He was actually just a 3-year-old buck, but I wish I would have got more pre-roll. He didn't know we were there. I could have filmed him a little bit longer. There wasn't a whole lot that I didn't like about that hunt. I wish we would have got down right after and got better video in the daylight, but we were waiting on another buck or some does to come through, and it just didn't happen. But it was cool. It was a great hunt. Solid buck, another one of my favorite deer. But just, you know, there's pre-roll. It makes it look better to not show up, boom, it's done. If you have a little bit of build up to it, you see that buck coming or you see other bucks, you know, get some film. That's the first deer we seen. We weren't there very long. Got him done, and then waited it out for other deer that didn't pop up. Like I said, I wish I'd have got down and got some daylight recovery, but just not what we did. So this next hunt actually is the biggest buck I've killed to date. Just happened to be with a bow. Got him at 166, I believe. He's just a huge 9. 28-inch beams, 20-inch inside spread, big tall brows. He was actually bigger the year before, and I passed on him. He had broke off what I thought was just his G2, but it ended up being his 2 and his 3. So I thought he was a big 8, but when he showed up and him being a big 9, I didn't recognize him until I went back and watched all the video. So this buck, my buddy sees him. I didn't see him. I just got done rattling and grunting, and he's like 60 yards and just beelines it right. He was going to go past us. I think I got him at 32 or 33 yards. He comes in. I should have zoomed in. I wish I would have zoomed in a little better. It was so shaky with the crappy camera arms I had back then. I didn't have the muddy camera arm or the 4th arrow. You know, I had built everything. Me and another buddy had built some a little better, but nothing phenomenal. They were still weak, kind of wobbly camera arms, and there was no real stabilization. They were where they were, and they weren't always straight. In this case, self-filming, I did not zoom in. He was not center. I wish I'd have got that better because he's such a big deer, and he stopped so perfect. Slightly quartered to. I hit him a little low, but it went through, hit him on that offset, cut his heart. He was hurt. There was a blood trail that wide all the way to where we actually found him. So that was an awesome hunt. Like I said, that's about the only real thing. I wish I'd have centered it and zoomed in just a little bit, but other than that, such a big deer, such an awesome experience. To this date, you know, he's still my all-time buck. But it's one of those things where a deer like that don't always pop up. And we were an hour late to the stand that day. It was daylight savings, so we had no idea we were going to see anything, let alone shoot one that big. So the 2016 season, I was actually stoked for that season. I had an absolute hammer 10-point that I had both sheds as a 2-year-old, one shed as a 3-year-old, and as a 4-year-old, he pops up and he's 170, 175-inch massive 10-pointer. Gorgeous deer. And I mean, just perfectly symmetrical. He's a solid buck, huge, tall tines. This buck was deep in my soul. Like, I wanted this deer. On the 8th of October, my buddy got married. My hunt that morning wasn't very long, didn't see anything. Decided to stay at the wedding, and my plan was go to the wedding, go hunting. I went to the wedding, I went to the reception, I decided to stay. Biggest mistake I've ever made. That deer was 20 yards from my tree stand on the main trail right in front of my stand. Just right there, broadside, for 5 or 6 really solid pictures. And I had an encounter with him on the 27th, I believe. Never seen him again, never had another picture, nothing. We have no idea what happened to this deer. But later on in season, me not seeing other bucks, not seeing that buck, the only buck I had on camera was a 3-year-old who Used to be a double main beam 14 pointer as a 2-year-old. As a 3-year-old, I thought he'd do a lot more. He leveled out, ended up being a mainframe 9, no brow tine, had 2 kickers at the base, so technically an 11 pointer. He was really hurt from a leg injury as a 1-year-old, and every year he was obvious. You knew which deer this was because he had a messed up leg. So I called him Tripod. This was a deer that I didn't fully intend to hunt, but after not finding the big one and this being the only other buck, I decided I would like to do some duck hunting. I'd like to tag out, jump into the ducks, and pretty much that's how this went down. He pops up, beds like 50 yards from me all morning. I watched him, and just all morning it was just pounding on my head. Do I take this deer? Do I try to get him to come closer and make this happen, or do I just wait it out and see if I can get a bigger buck? He's right at 130, nothing huge. You know, he's still pretty young, but this isn't a place where very many deer see 5 or 6. There's a lot of hunting pressure all the way around this property. And this buck, he was kind of a homebody, though. He came in pushing off a little spike. He got up out of his bed and decided to push that spike off. And when he turned and I seen how big that one side was, I decided I was going to go ahead and tag out and get after some ducks. And he didn't go 30 yards from the shot. It was I would say it was emotional. I was not disappointed in the size of the deer. I wasn't disappointed in the hunt. That was all fairly good. But as far as just not getting this giant deer I was super, super obsessed with at the time, probably still am. I don't even like to talk about him, but this deer was so big that he was stuck in my mind. And Tripod being a deer that I was emotionally attached to via 3 years of history with him. I watched him. I knew he was going to be something, and then he leveled out to something that wasn't quite what we would have liked. It was still super emotional, though. Like, this deer, he was being beat up like he was. He looked so bad walking in. He looked skinny. He looked rough. He didn't look as solid as he did the years before. So in my opinion, had he made it into December, he probably wouldn't have made it out of December. But I was totally cool with filming my tag on that deer. Like I said, it was very emotional. This deer, he's a beautiful buck. I can't wait to get him on the wall. That's another one of the things, you know, you get so far behind on work and life that you neglect getting some things done. I've got 4 or 5 of my own bucks still to mount, and I'm the taxidermist, so got to get everybody else's done before mine, and then I'm going to bust ass. And I'll probably have a whole video on mounting deer, a whole video on all my bucks, you know, once they're all done. But that video of the 2016 hunt was really good. It was solid. You know, he came in, he gave me a shot, he was done. We ended up finding out he actually had been shot in his back leg too, more recent, and there was a bunch of hair. It was a ball like that big of matted up hair and lead. So it was from a shotgun, but it didn't slow him down too awful much. But he had, between his front leg being broke, and I've got the bone, it's crazy. I'll actually show you that here in a minute. That bone was snapped. His back leg had that big muscle issue with being shot in it. I think we had another injury on him. I can't even remember, man. He was just beat up. I really don't think he would have made it. I'm really glad that I'm the one that took him out, and, you know, he didn't feed more coyotes or something. So, cool hunt. So 2017, actually, this buck, I was on my sister's property. She talked me into hunting it. She was going to live there, decided not to. It wasn't very big, but it was right at the top of this peak of this hill, and the hill is so steep I didn't figure deer would really travel on it. So they're going to travel through her property to get anywhere. And it's, you know, there's a river below, there's crops everywhere else. It didn't seem prime, but I went in there, stuck a camera anyways. It was way out of my way. Right off the bat, tons of does, a couple small bucks. The biggest buck was a 2-year-old 10-pointer, and we had 2 fox. So I was more excited for the does than the fox. I'm sitting there waiting on these fox. I had an 8-point chase a doe pass me that hunt, and he just kept coming back and grunting and kept coming back. He'd lost that doe, and he was looking for her, but he never drew anything in. And then about an hour goes by. It's getting close to dark. I'm looking where the fox should be coming from, and then hear footsteps towards her house, which is even deeper towards a road. I look up, I see a buck coming, At the time, I thought maybe he was a big 8 or a medium 8 or just, nothing fantastic, 120s, 130s maybe. Decided I was going to fill my tag. Every day I sat there, I would listen to ducks, and I would listen to geese, and I would listen to speckled belly geese, and I was getting more fired up again for waterfowl season. So I was like, well, I'd like to tag out, and I don't have anything big on camera, so anything nice will be cool with me. Steer comes in, 30 yards. Again, I wish I would have zoomed in a little bit more, but I was just so fast, and I just turned it, drew back, shot. I hit him a little far back. Liver shot him. He went 50 yards, started wobbling, and I lost him through the darkness. So I think he bedded down right there. And then I checked my arrow, checked the blood, didn't look good. So I decided to go home, back out, come back the next morning. Sure enough, he was laying right where I last seen him, way bigger than I thought. He ended up going 153, big, heavy mass rack, which is actually underneath my desk right now. But he has a mainframe 9, which seems to be my thing, is killing 9s, but then he has 2 kickers on the back of his antlers. He's got kicker on his G2. Ended up coming out to be a big 153-inch with change, 12. By far my heaviest antlered buck, completely unexpected. Gorgeous cape. This deer is beautiful. He's black tip ears, bronze on him. I mean, he's got so much character and color, and I mean, this is a unique deer. Old. I mean, he was field dressed. It took me and a buddy to get him 70 yards from where he was dead to my truck. And this is with a deer cart. He was heavy. We never actually put him on a scale, but this deer was super big, super heavy. And I'm really humbled to be killing deer like that on a place. It was like a 1/3 acre or something like that. It was small, but since then that place sold. I didn't get to hunt it again, which is a bummer because who knows what's on that place. But that was cool. Again, the only thing I'd really do different on that, I wish I would have been facing the right way and seen him coming, but zooming in a little bit and getting better video would have been awesome. So my 2018 hunt, I was going through a divorce. I was going through a lot of depression, a lot of problems. I'd moved to town, which I hate town with a passion. I'm a country kid from the heart. Moved to town for several months. I was in such a dark place that I was barely hunting, really. I was working out a lot, which was just to keep myself focused and dieting right, so I lost a lot of weight. No, I was not on drugs. I was in a good place as far as I was actually staying on a healthy, very healthy diet. And, like I said, I'd lost weight. I went from 225 down to 164 at the time. So I was in damn good shape, but mentally I was super messed up. I just couldn't get my head straight. So much going on. I went from a 12-year relationship that it was so bad, and I just let it build up. And to the point which I'm sure you could see I'd gained a lot of weight over the years, and then I'd lost all that weight, and then so I've gained a little bit back now. Surprisingly, a lot of it's in muscle, and I've not been working out, but I am getting fat, so that's fun. So this deer, I had decided it was muzzleloader, it was late muzzleloader at that, so it was get it done or don't get it done. So I'm out, I'm walking around, I'm like, I'll shoot a 2-year-old, I'll be happy. I look up, there's a buck walking. He's got a rack. It's not a 1-year-old. I was cool with it. So I pull up, shoot. Terrible video. The deer is center screen behind brush. I actually ducked under that brush and had a clear shot. And the video was awful. Other than him falling on camera, I didn't have a whole lot going for that video. And the deer, he ended up having a really big body. Definitely at least a 3. I wouldn't say quite 4, but he had the crappiest small rack for the size of body he had. It didn't make sense for the area. Usually in this area, a 3-year-old is pushing 150, 160, which is, we have great genetics as far as deer being able to make huge jumps, but this deer did not do that. And he was broke off, so he has never been scored. He's a turd. I'm cool with it, though. It got me back in the woods. It got me back into what I love, and killing a deer really helped my mentality at the time, so that deer is special to me in different ways than just hunting. It kind of brought me out of a funk that I was really stuck in. So I have no issues with how it went, except for obviously the bad video. It was quick and dumb. Since then, I try to do my best and make things happen. Now, this hunt was unique in the way that my buddy had killed his buck right off the bat. His reduction buck, boom, one and done. He had pictures of him, everything. So we go in hoping for anything, truthfully. Seen a few bucks over that season, and I'd missed one. It was a rough season, really. I look up in this holler, and it's my reduction spot, so I'm thinking any solid buck I'll probably shoot. This buck's coming through from the angle. I couldn't tell. I just knew he was tall looking, but I couldn't tell what he was. And we're getting down to the wire. I figured, heck, this isn't even my main buck tag. I'm going to go ahead and fill it. And, if it's a big buck, awesome. If not, it's not a big deal. But, so I stop this buck. Perfect. He stops in a hole this big and gives me the most awesome shot he could have in all this thick brush. He didn't go real far. Me, being the dummy I am, thought I filmed the whole recovery. No. I get back home, and I'm trying to go through this video. We've already got this deer hung up. I'm glad I didn't start skinning him yet. And I'm going through the video, and I'm just putting it on my computer, and I don't have the recovery. So I'm like, what did I do wrong? I either double punched record or something. I have no idea. But I didn't get it. I did it. I sat there in the woods talking behind a deer for nothing because there was no video of it at all. And that was a bummer, but we ended up doing the recovery in the dark, which we had to take him back down, loosen him back up, get him in a position that looked okay, film it, called it good. It sucked that it didn't go how it went, as far as like me actually sitting behind the deer right after I killed him. But that's how things go in the filming world. Sometimes you miss things that you thought you had, which I've done on does, but, once I actually did it on something else, I was pretty disappointed in myself. 2020 season, God, I had 2 tags. I had 2 tags the year before with my reduction and my main tag, and I only filmed my reduction tag. I didn't even come close to getting anything else. So the next year I was out on a mission to kill 2 bucks. So I'm hunting, and the only 2 shooters I had all season as far as big deer was a buck that I called Blade. He showed up 4 days earlier. I get in the woods, we get on him. He's coming. Took him forever. He stood in one spot for 15 minutes, another spot for 7 minutes. What is going on with me? Then he turns around to leave because it's a wide open acorn hillside kind of, and he didn't see any deer, so whatever was grunting at him was clearly not deer. He got the hint, started to leave. I had my camera set up right. All I had to do was draw back and stop him, and it was so rushed it felt like, and he was such a solid deer pushing right around that 160 mark that I didn't do anything. I let him walk, and it was about 40 yards, so I'm definitely regretting that one. The other buck, where I was gonna sit my stand, I look up, and Jaden's like, there's a buck, or I think he said there's a doe. And I was like, nah, that ain't right. That looks like a buck. So video him. He's got kicks and splits and, crab claw. I mean, this deer, very unique. Maybe not high scoring, but he was so cool that, that doesn't matter with us. We don't care. We like cool looking deer. We're deer hunters, not high score hunters. So this deer we're watching at 70 yards right in front of the tree I wanted to be in, and he beds down right off the bat. So we're in the open kind of where we're sitting from where he's at, and we're like, dang, what are we going to do? So we're like calling to him a little bit, He gets up and he like trots off, gone. Never seen him again. Only time we ever seen him, nothing. So 2020 was terrible. 2021 is coming, and we are going to kick ass and take names. And I'm hoping we'll have a lot of bucks to chase. We'll see. So far, we've got a couple on camera already, so that's solid. But it's all about now getting out there and making something happen. Can't wait for this season, so I'm trying to just get everything out there before season. And, hopefully we make it happen this year. Hopefully we fill both our buck tags. I'm hoping Lily can kill her other buck tag, because she stuck a good one last year and it did not die. Sadly, it was one of those shots I have no issue with the shot. She hit the deer exactly where she needed to, buried the crossbow bolt in this deer to the fletch, never found the deer. No idea what happened. He wasn't a big deer. He shouldn't have gone very far. No idea. We just don't know. So redemption for her if she can get the buck that she was after last year right here on my own property. We'll see how that goes. We got a lot of deer to chase. Hopefully they all show back up. Hopefully everything is on the rise now. We are past so many obstacles in life. I think we're going to be able to keep up with everything. So thank all of you for being a part of this. Thank all of you for your support, your comments, your likes. I appreciate everything from every one of you. And I'm hoping future could start bringing y'all into this. I wish other shows would do this. There's plenty of people I would be glad to hunt with. Not the stuck-up guys. Don't care about you. I know some of these big industry guys are dicks in person. And I don't want to be that. Like, I'm a dick as a person, but that's only to liberals. Fuck you.